num, num num, birdie num num.
When I have understanding of computers, I shall be the supreme being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the silicon revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men.
Don't do that, Jesus Christ! You're gonna get me killed!
Out of here!
Oh, Billy.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Welcome, everybody, to Aeon Bite. Welcome to the desert of the real. Yes, we still live in an absurd universe where men have nipples and other oddities we can't seem to understand, but it just means the simulation is broken and will remain broken, so we must be the glitch in the matrix. I mean, we must be those who spray graffiti upon the walls of Plato's cave to make a better universe. So that's what we're doing on this show. My name is Miguel Connor. I am still your Pompatus of Gnosis, still struggling with the cold from my trip to Graceland and the Crossroads and all these amazing places where I found so many revelations and so many cool things. But I continue in my meat sack, and today I'm very excited to have producer, musician, and artist and friend, and hopefully DJ to the next Astronauts conference, and that is Ryme. Ryme, so great to have you on.
Ohayo gozaimasu and good morning from Japan. Miguel, wow, hi. Seriously, I am such a big fan, and I know that as everyone's coming in, or as everyone is also starting their playback because they couldn't make the live, just like me sometimes starting up their car, going on that little 1.5 hour drive and going, it's Miguel and Moondog Vance time, let's go. And there's so many smiles and jokes and such deep, potent, poignant information that you have created on this platform that has given so many people access and thoughts and new ideas and revelations and everything that you go through too. So to share that and then to be a part of it now is so beautiful. And I'm just so excited to be here, for everyone coming in and going, okay, what's going to happen today? A good one. It's going to be a great show.
Well, thank you so much. Honored. And of course, I enjoy your creations. I think they're amazing, and we need to share this more with the world. And with us, yes, we've got the Moondog Vance. Vance, how are you doing? Are you turning Japanese? Do you really think so?
I think I'm turning Japanese.
You can't get away with that song today.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, and all that.
That one either.
Mr. Roboto, domo arigato.
Oh yeah, I admire the Japanese culture. You know, they love their gadgets. They it's the greatest gadgets. And I'm a ham radio guy, and I love their radios and things like that. It's amazing in the little things. We watch Redburb on YouTube, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen him. There's a guy who has these parrots, and they're interesting. And he has these little toys with the parrots and little television sets the parrots play with and everything.
Can the parrot say birdie num num?
That would be a good trick. Now he pretty much says his own name. He says Redburb or something. I think he says his own name. Gumi, okay. Gumi-chan. That's right. Yeah, Gumi-chan. That's his name. Gumi. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. And talking birds. I mean, really, on the topic of talking birds, as a young girl, really growing up, as soon as I can remember, The Party has always been my favorite movie. Always.
Really?
Wow. It's so weird. That's why, like, when
that's so weird.
Someone I don't know who, someone by the name of Ruben Crew sent me this podcast many, many years ago. And that's how, and then I saw the birdie num num and I was like, why? No one my age knows about this movie. No one even more than my age knows about. And I would sit there just every day and watch it. And the humor is so understandable for me. It's that not say too much, but it's the actions and And that scene, the whole unfolding of that movie, wow, still my favorite today. So when I saw this Birdie Num Num stuff going on, I'm like, what is going
Oh
on?
yeah. Because
There
I
you
was
go.
like, well, usually this is the intro. I don't play when the guest is female because of the
Mm,
nipples and the homoerotic
wow, let's
stuff. And I'm
go.
like, oh, Ryme, I know Ryme will dig it. So it's one of my favorite movies, and Peter Sellers is one of my favorite actors, probably. And I've watched all his movies, and coincidentally, Elvis Presley, that was his favorite actor of all times. And yeah, Doctor Strangelove was his favorite movie. So
Good taste.
he loved, he loved anything by Kubrick. And Sellers, of course, was just a master in that movie.
Oh,
I
that
like being
dinner.
there. That was great.
Of course, yeah, very
Yeah.
good movie.
Oh, such a great movie. I think I played it during my like 19th birthday. I put it on a projector screen, just, as it started, and then it just slowly descended into some more chaos. I think it just put the right mood in the right hour.
Brilliant film, brilliant film. So tell us, if you had to choose between your top 5 movies, would you able to provide a list? It's always hard.
This is kind of a funny small thing about me, but I am not so much a movie person compared to a music person. But
Mhm.
so when I say movies, I'm gonna probably sound, I have my interesting references, but then it's like, oh, I'm still a basic bitch with movies. So of course we have The Party,
Yeah.
with Peter Sellers, Labyrinth with David Bowie,
Mm,
and I'm not good with actors. Great with musicians, not good with actors. Of course, Harry Potter, duh.
mhm.
Everything Harry Potter. Lord of the Rings, also.
All right.
And there is one more movie that, oh, yes, it's a movie, and there's a big boat, and it's not The Mask, but it's similar to The Mask energy, where there's like a Drop Dead Fred.
Oh, of course. That's it's a really dark movie. I watched it as a child too.
Damn.
But now as you get older, you're like, ooh, this is dark. This is
Yeah.
dank.
Drop Dead Fred. There's a reminder for anyone who hasn't seen that in a while. It's time to begin. But
From
on
Rick
the
from the Young Ones, the
Yeah,
actor.
but there's so many Japanese movies as well that I can really recommend. There is, because I've been getting into it, and I also did soundtracking for a Japanese film and anime.
Mm,
Yeah, that was really interesting experience, especially for the anime. They would send images of half-drawn anime, so it was kind of sketches, and like at the beginning of them piecing it together, and then me and my partner would do the music to that animation. So to see then the process of how it came out was really special. So a lot goes into movies. I mean, a lot goes into everything, really. A lot goes into life, basically. There's the metaphor already.
there you go. There you go. Awesome. Well, for the next question I had is maybe briefly describe who you are. And of course, we want to know. I know we talked about it before, but it's been almost 3 years.
Mm.
How has Gnosticism influenced your worldview?
Yes. So my name is Ryme. Actually, Ryme. Sometimes I wish not. During school, definitely not. I used to get called slime, and yeah, I was mean, and it was
The
complicated.
people that are mean.
I would get Rimmy or Rim, or I got into high school is even harder with that.
I got
Don't.
called me smell, so that was a good
Oh,
one.
oh no. No, I simultaneously became the bully and the bullied, really. Probably ending more in the bullied, and just was like, okay, I'm just gonna figure skate every day and go over here.
Mhm.
I started making music when I was 6, actually. So I come from a very rock and roll background. My father was in a rock band in the early 90s, and they did very well in Australia. My mother was also touring with another rock band of the Divinals. That was the name of the band. My dad's band's name was the Screaming Jets. Very AC/DC, pub rock, blues
Mm,
kind of style. And then obviously, the Divinals were Chrissy Amphlett. I touch myself.
of
Oh,
course.
that one. So
Yeah.
there's a ton she did that were amazing. But my parents met on tour, and they got married actually in Las Vegas at a drive-through wedding. Came back to Australia, had me. Everything kind of fell apart. There was a lot of drugs back in the day, and there was also a lot of, Australia. It's an interesting energy there. I don't know if you've been there, but that was my whole childhood of music and influence. And I started producing music when I was 6 on a old program called Sony Acid, but I would drag loops. So I was the weird kid in the studio making a spooky house album, and the other kids were playing outside. I had this strange balance. And then when I would go play outside, I loved lizards and reptiles, and I would find make little houses for them. I'm sure there's someone else listening who also made little houses, and yes, I know who you are. But there was a lot of that. And then I picked up saxophone because of Lisa Simpson when I was when I was 10, and I played saxophone classically trained until the end of high school. And during high school, I did some intermediate music level programs. So I studied a lot of score writing, and I just did a lot of music. But then, of course, you turn 14 and boys become the most important thing. Yes. So I also had my moment where I kind of went away from music, and I was, doing all that. And I was also working because I was supporting myself to do ice skating. But actually, ice skating and anything physical or performance-wise is quite an important thing to hone in your life, because it teaches you performance, and it teaches you how to use your body with music. So I was always doing music. It was just in a form, or at that time more with dancing at a party as a teenager, or figure skating with my Russian coach who would say "Bled." And then finally, around the end of high school, I was just the one who was always playing music. I was DJing as soon as I got my car, and I was the only one in the city who had a car. It was just me and my friends in the car. Let's play this music. And I loved electronic music. And I quickly moved cities in Australia, and I just started DJing a lot. And it was not, hey, I'm DJing. I was in a rock and roll bar, and they were like, you're not mixing anything. You just play this song, and then you play that song. And because rocket was in my heart, I just killed it. Just rock and roll, apple juice and vodka and pizza in a bar. And it was just that for 3 years, as well as a bunch of other stuff. I also bought my first passport when I was 19. And then I took myself to China. That was the first place I went. Indonesia after. And each of these places, I think, as in everyone's story, that they can pick up these influences or energies. And because I was also living in Australia, and I now live in Japan, I've been living in Asia my whole life, really. The more I understand the geographical points, there is portals in Asia, and I have been in the Asian. So I find it interesting to, as I've gotten older and delved more into music, that this Asian influence of sound has really affected me. And also the Aboriginal music has affected me a lot, which I've also reconnected with recently. Because it's a lot of shamanic, shamans come from Siberia, but firstly in some way, but a lot of shamanic influence in Asia, especially, as you know, Indonesia was very powerful for that. Most of Buddhism comes from China, going into the Gnosticism topic now. And also Japan is a very, very mythical place for Gnosticism and Gnosis. And it's so glad you asked me that question, because I just have this book in front of me, and this is a book on Japanese shamanism and how the practice of shamanism came to Japan, because there was actually quite an influence on two parts. So there was the northern hemisphere, and which comes from Hokkaido and more Russia and the kind of cold, and then the Philippines and the more Indonesian area that came up through Okinawa, and it kind of had a melting point in the middle. So my life in Japan, besides music, because I basically mastered DJing, I'm still mastering music production, but that's a never-ending thing. I've come here and just had I was never meant to really stay in Japan, but Japan, as soon as I got here, it was like, no, you're going to perform for Dior, then you're going to do that, then you're going to stay here. Oh, then you're going to meet that person. Then we're going to get great sushi. It just never ended. So I decided to do the whole I'm big in Japan thing and break that little thing. And I ended up working with such big labels as a foreigner living in an Asian country. And as you know, the music industry now is very, it's pushing a lot of boundaries in the terms of, okay, we want an Asian artist in America, and we want to. It's going in that direction, and there's big labels forefronting that. And I was very lucky to work with big labels that are forefronting, empowering Asian artists. As a non-Asian artist who's living in Asia, who represents as an Asian artist, it's a very interesting journey that I've had the other end of the stick on to see in that way. And that's influenced a lot of my decisions, as in where am I going to be doing music. And I think it also influenced a lot of people, like with this current setting in business. How do you do business, and how do you do your art? Because they are different platforms, and how do you mix them around? Because we have to pay the bills and we have to also be creative. And this is something that's been a very interesting topic. And with all the gadgets here in Japan, Vance, there is actually a lot of interesting technology-based decisions that I've made, and that I've also been disappointed upon, because Japan is so Japan is for me, the country that is the most advanced in terms of human thinking, but also so behind still in so many ways, like with this thing that I see slowly with their values, their kind of moral compass. And this goes into Gnosticism quite nicely, because Japan being so technologically advanced, and with, I never lock my car. Seriously, though, don't no one take advantage of that. I never lock my car, and I have a big car. It's with the windows open, so really, but don't really like to lock the house. People don't really do that here. There's no crime. I've never had any big issue. Of course, there's some things, but that's not the conversation today. But you find mostly that this society, and also being an island, has become so tribal and safe and a community-based country. And then it's got the high-tech dreams. But a lot of Japanese, it's still the most pure blood. It's like Slytherin. It's the most pure blood country in the world. There is still a lot of don't go outside, which is also a quite similar Australian mindset. This is why I also wanted to leave there. We have everything here. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Most Japanese people only speak Japanese. So in order to live here, I've had to learn Japanese and understand their way of customs, which is actually beautiful. A lot of bowing, there's a lot of silence like that, where you let the air breathe. And sometimes during a business meeting or during something, it's almost like, what is going on? It's so awkward. But I've come to realize that silence is actually something that is very powerful and also awkward. But Japan, for me, has been an interesting vision, because the main religion here is actually Shintoism. And Shintoism is more of a religion that gives reverence to deities. And it puts the fate of myself in that deity's responsibility. And we say responsibility as sekinin. So sekinin is a word and a phrase that is among the masses. I feel something that is people try to dodge this. If I ask a question, I usually get a chotto matte kudasai, which means just wait one moment while they check with that superior, who checks with that superior. And it until someone can make a decision. There's usually a lot of hesitancy with responsibility, and that reflects also, I think, in the moral guide encompassing, where People go at certain times of the year during festival. They pay their little money. They line up in a line, and then they do their little claps. And it is a truly beautiful thing to witness. And I do love the idea of these deities providing. But I think what is missed in some way is the responsibility for oneself and actions in faith, and moral compass guiding themselves. And Japan, because of its gadgets, Vance, has become very dependent on materialism and technology. And as the AI simulation further deepens, we're actually being brought deeper and deeper into relying and trusting this technological aid, and changing it from the slave to the master. So I think that Gnosticism and ancient Japanese shamanic practices, and I'm going to go into another beautiful Buddhism I've learned here, is super important. And it's a bit of a race right now in Japan on how to live here in such a technological gadget-based country, but not be the victim of that materialism, and remember what Gnosis can be brought down.
Beautifully said, and thank you. And what about the idea, for example, looking at metaphysics? If you start talking about the simulation theory, archons or UFOs, does that fly over there? I mean, it is sort of one of the homes of science fiction. I mean,
Yeah. Oh no, you feel it.
anime is full of Gnostic themes, from Evangelion to Attack on Titan to all those. So,
Yeah. No.
so
There's one very great anime I like called Angel Beats, and it's about this alternate dimension before death you go into, and it's about like they're in high school in a school, and they all play music. It's Japan is one of this. I'm trying to think where to start. I think what I want to start is actually the best way is Japan. Let's look at Japan for a second. The shape of Japan is actually a dragon. So if you go right to the top on the right-hand side, you have the head, which is Hokkaido. And then you follow the base of the spine down, and you watch the shape, and the tail tails into Okinawa down here. And the Okinawa Islands kind of tails as the kind of long tail of the dragon. Then you have the heart of the dragon, which is Tokyo. So the heart kind of sits where the sternum is being held. And then you have Kyoto, which is the base of the spine. And Kyoto is the original capital was Nara, which is a little more south, which is actually more of the sacral chakra. And you go into Osaka, which is the asshole, which actually I love all the shit down there, really. That's the shit, literally. When I say Japan, Osaka is the shit. And it really is geographically. But that's a lot of, and you feel it. There's a different energy. Kyoto is a bit more like, So we had Nara, which was the first capital. And actually Nara is, can't wait to talk about that place. That was a part of one of my Japanese deities. And then Tokyo now is the current capital. So it moved capitals 3 times. So the shape of the dragon is very important to understand about Japan. In Japanese, we call a dragon Ryu. So this Ryu, it symbolizes this kind of forgotten mystical creature which we all know the dragons probably were a real animal at some point, and it did die. It was on the Chinese zodiac, and it's the only animal missing in real life from the Chinese zodiac if you think about it. So I do really am fascinated with dragons in terms of in sci-fi. I'm also Dragon Ball Z, if you think about it, that was a very big anime. Now the dragon, I actually have a little story about where I was brought recently, and I actually have my second house there because I work in Tokyo, but I live somewhere special in Japan. And it was very strange how I found it. Now, on this geographical point, you go to the most eastern part, but on the south, and you have the arms of the dragon, and they call the arms of the dragon a state called Chiba. But you go even further down to this one area, and actually the dragon holds crystal balls. So Dragon Ball Z was almost based around this dragon holding these crystal balls. Now there's 7 crystal balls the dragon holds in Japan. So there's 7 suburbs around the eastern corner of Japan, in a kind of Kamogawa prefecture around, not prefecture, like city, that represents these crystal balls. Now this is where I take my car and I drive to, and I've been blessed with this apartment that I do my secret and sacred work out there. And it's very, very peculiar energy. As soon as you come in, you feel this electricity, really. It's and every morning the sun rises, so you look out to, I guess if you looked far enough, you would see California or the South America. So if you do have a chance to go to Japan, you are interested in mysticism, and you want to understand the dragons, what is it holding? What is its sacred knowledge that we don't know? I would recommend going right into the corner on the bottom right-hand side and finding that out. So there is a beautiful, beautiful Japanese Buddhism. And I believe in terms of Gnosticism, it's been kind of, Buddhism is a big part of Gnosticism. I know that we talk a lot about ancient Christianity on Aeon Bytes, and a lot about Judaism and the Kabbalah, which I love. But I find that I want to talk about Buddhism now, because Buddhism is also very wide. Now, Japan being a mostly Buddhist country, we actually recognize Shintoism, and most people know about this kind of Buddhism for the most part. There's also the Buddhist teachers, there's also the Tibetan, and there's the Sanskrit. Now, there is a modern Buddhism in Japan that I actually was introduced to when I was here. And it's a beautiful 7. Of course, here's the number 7 again. It's a 7-syllable phrase that goes like this. It's Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo. And this is a beautiful phrase that was originally in Sanskrit. It was also then translated to Chinese. And there was a man called Nichiren who basically dubbed Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo through a series of many years. There was someone who ended up in jail just understanding this phrase. It was very old Buddhism and old Japanese. They didn't want to know. They wanted their things the way they wanted it, and they didn't want any change. Mm-hmm. So this modern Buddhism of Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo, the chant, is under a company or like a institution of Soka Gakkai. It's the main institution in Japan. And there is actually a mountain where Nichiren brought this chanting to. And this mountain is Kiyosumi Mountain, which is near Kamogawa. And you would not believe, I was driving around one day thinking, I'm going to go for a drive and explore the area. I drive about 40 minutes, and I'm driving through this mountain, and I arrive at this sacred temple. And I was just, I was just, let's see where God takes me today. And I get out at this temple, and I'm feeling like, ooh, I feel a little electricity, and it's high up, it's misty, it's moody. And I walk in, and I'm so used to walking into Shinto temples that when I walked in and I see Nichiren, which is Japanese, they don't usually like this chanting. It's usually like, no, we don't do modern Buddhism. And I was so shocked that it was this temple that Nichiren came to with this chanting. He actually dubbed the Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo, we say odaimoku. So when we say odaimoku, it means we're chanting in trance, this kind of this meaning. And it was so beautiful to come to this temple of Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo, which Nichiren founded. Before then, Soka Gakkai kind of took it and made it more institutionalized. And the energy they still chant every day. And the energy of Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo, what does it mean? And this is something that I wanted to share with you. I think that it's not an easy translation, and I'm still understanding it as an English speaker. Mm-hmm. But Nam-myo Ho-renge Kyo, overall, it means an entire devotions to the Hokkekyo. And the Hokkekyo is when Buddha came into his nirvana and his enlightenment, he began to teach. And after he taught for about 30 years the metaphors of Buddhism, and he was still understanding it, I think. And it's almost in some way, in your life where, okay, Gnosticism gets introduced to you, or mysticism is introduced, and you start to go through a series of trials and metaphors, and it's like a step-by-step process. But it's then that moment when you hit this incredible realization. And I think Buddha came into this period of 10 years of his life where he then got into the best of the best of the best of the teachings and the Buddhism and the true real stuff. And in Japanese, that's hokkekyo. And that's the kind of most sacred knowledge. So Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, when we chant it, we say Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's chanting to uncover, to sponge, to live, to breathe, to become the best of Buddhism. And this is a very, I think, Gnostic part of Japan that is so untalked about and still learning. And Soka Gakkai did go into England. I have some great British friends.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a beautiful center, and in New York they have a center. So most people who are serious about Buddhism, Gnosticism, and mysticism do know of Soka Gakkai and the teachings of Nichiren. And Daisuke Ikeda-san, who's he might still be alive, but he's very old, and he is you would love him, Miguel and Vance. He's the most amazing Japanese writer and founding president of Soka Gakkai, and he does an amazing Gnostic dialogue with Christian teachers, with Hinduism people, like just every religion you can imagine. He sits there and he talks like, okay, what is the main principle that bridges my Japanese faith and understanding of the mystic and your faith? And the common duality is peace.
Right.
Always, which you guys know, it's always peace. So I love that since I've been here, I've been able to be introduced to this beautiful chanting. And this is a little book I'm just holding up on the screen in case you're watching this or not. But this is the Soka Gakkai UK book that you open up, and it teaches you about Nichiren and about the chanting. And they have the English translation where you can actually read along. And you start with a beautiful prayer. And this is a type of practice that I do in Japan that I was introduced very early on when I came here. And it's been so touching to my heart. I've also gone through, okay, I'm not going to do that now, but I chanted this morning, and it, after you chant, just like after you meditate, there is this sense of, I don't know, I want to say like you kind of brush off any little juju or whatever, clean up the mind. So, yeah, there's that.
Wonderful. Love it. Yes. And of course, I think we get to basics. Gnosticism, really, if you want to talk about its primordial origin, somebody mentioned that in the chat I saw, is shamanism, that direct experience with the spirit world, for better or worse, because the spirit world is full of assholes. I mean, that's just the way it is. And but that's what it keeps manifesting throughout history. So I would say definitely. For those of you in the chat, if you have a question for Ryme, please super chat them so we can separate them and get down to and address your questions or complaints for Vance or whatever. What do you think, Vance? Do you have a question?
I was wondering, there seems to be such a I've always wondered this juxtaposition between Shinto and Buddhism. Like on one hand, you got lots of gods, and on the other hand, you don't got any gods. So, or at least in many forms of Buddhism. What can you tell us about that?
It's a great question. And each to their own, really, because everyone's going to experience different things. I recently watched a movie. There's great YouTube channels that they just sit there and they have this amazing warm voice and they talk about angels or whatever. But I did watch a thing on angels, and I was relating this closely with these deities because Japanese, everywhere you walk, there's like a little statue of a kitsune there and a tanuki there. And then you've got different types of Buddhas and different types of deities. And I think, yes, you're right. Shintoism is the reverence to these deities. And there's many, and that's where Sekinin comes back to. Most Japanese will probably feel more like myself, condemned to follow or give reverence to a particular deity. There are two deities that I follow that came to me that are beyond profound, that I cannot say, oh, whatever. And then you have obviously the hardcore Buddhists who are like, there is no God, I am God, which I'd also believe at some point. But this also tips on the edge of atheism, and even I'm there too. I think Gnosticism even includes atheism too. It's just more that once you witness, and this year's been a big year for me in terms of also a psychedelic revelation. Once you witness the amount of spirits and guides out there, there's no denying that nothing exists. There is definitely things, but is there just one thing? So Japanese, for the most part, with Shintoism, I think that, mostly, actually, Japan is quite an atheist country. The moral compass here is materialism and what my neighbor thinks of me, for the most part. But then you have these amazing, amazing people you start to meet on your hero's journey. And I have met shamans here. I have been approached by many shamans here. And I've also been approached by people in Mongolia who have said, you need to come to Mongolia and do a show and meet the shaman. And I've gone and I've met shamans there.
Wow.
Incredible. I keep getting called into this shamanic world, and it just makes sense every time I get there. And then I'm like, oh, well, that's why I met this guy and that why. But I'll tell you about these two Shinto. I don't know if they're Shintoism, but they are deities in Japan. So there's two that I met. When I first came to Japan, I met Fudomyo. Fudomyo is the protector of Buddha. He's known as I wish I could get a picture up right now. That would actually be fun. Can we do that while we simultaneously do it?
You want me to put the video on?
No, not yet for that one. I'm trying to get a picture of Fudomyo. Let me just send this link. Can we do private chat? Yeah, I just sent you a link. But there is an image here of Fudomyo. Now I will describe it for people listening. He's got a very his face is all disjointed. He's got one side of his mouth hanging out, a twitchy looking eye. He's got big gremlin teeth. His skin is kind of dark. Honestly, the first time you look at him, it's like, what is that? You would mistake him for a demon, honestly. He's got this big hand of fire. He's a nasty, nasty looking guy. He's not for everyone. Fudomyo is a quite hardcore, serious. There we go.
Yeah, here's the pictures. I don't know which
There's
one
some
you want
pictures
up.
coming up of him. He's a serious guy, and he's the kind of deity of fire. Fire is a closely working thing. And I was reading in the shamanistic book last night that the only way for shamans to even graduate as shamans themselves, they must master the art of fire. And that is fire within oneself, that kind of lighting it up to push out that bad, or to bring that energy up, to make movement, to make action, to make responsibility. So Fudomyo is one of my favorite Japanese deities. And
Cool.
I was randomly traveling. I saw a picture of a graveyard in a mountain called Mount Koyasan. And Koyasan was in the Nara prefecture. And as soon as I got up there and I stayed in this temple, in the middle of the night, I woke up with this green flame. Opened my eyes and I was pinned down, paralyzed. I always had a lot of sleep paralysis. I've always seen a lot of weird demons. I've dealt with a lot of dark energies coming and attaching themselves onto me and feeding. And it was actually the first night I ever stayed in Tokyo, before I went to this mountain, that I woke up in the middle of the night and there's this huge hand standing over the bed, and he was like, oh, straight away, top black hat, suicide spirit, right over my bed, like, welcome. And that was very confronting. And I woke up with this weird energy on my back. It's usually I travel, I will pick up the main energy, but the suicide spirit in Tokyo, heavy stuff. Right near Fuji, as you know, is the suicide forest. That's another story coming, but you will love that metaphor. But when I came to this mountain, I was feeling that still. And I didn't mention it to anyone, but I was feeling like, what is this thing that came over me in Tokyo? And I was in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was pinned down, paralyzed. And I see this amazing green mist over me. And it was the mist of this face. And I was thinking, geez, this is this is this demon coming to get me again. But then my sternum like kind of popped up really quickly, and I felt this like this green mist like went and just pulled it out of me really quickly. It was like an exorcism. And I've had this before, but not usually with my godfather, who's a healer, or a few other people over the years. But this was something different. And I was like, I woke up, got the feeling back in my hands, and I was in this tatami floor on a futon thinking, what the fuck is life? What is going on? Who is this thing? And I woke up the next morning at 6 a.m. for the chanting, because there's a chanting in the temples we usually, if you do a stay here. And I walk in, and there's the fire being lit, and you hear the fudomyo chanting, and I see the statue of exactly this green mist outline that I saw of this face, exactly of what was standing, and all the monks chanting to him. It was like, his spirit must be so strong and doused in this temple that he's the master. If anything or any other energies are coming and being brought in, he's like, hell no. He comes over and he snaps it right out. It was so profound. And it doesn't, when you experience a spirit as strong as Fudomyo coming and actually protecting you, that's his mission. You start to go, wow, okay, well, all right. And then throughout Japan, there are small temples that have him. Every temple has a different deity. So whenever I see him, I always go in and I go, thank you, just to show my respect. Right. And he's someone that's been a constant kind of guardian angel, kind of like Archangel Michael. The next deity that came to me that touched my heart is a beautiful, beautiful woman. And her name is Benzaiten. I'm going to send you her. So Benzaiten is actually the goddess of music, of poetry, of fortune. And she's a beautiful goddess. She's usually doused in robes. She also plays Japanese instruments like the shamisen, the koto, which I also have been playing the koto the past 3 years too. Well, more on that in a second. And she also came to me in such a strange way. I was, I don't know exactly how I can remember, but I do remember being at a beautiful park in Tokyo, and I was exploring the Ghibli Museum. I went to go and find, yes, exactly. I went to go find the Ghibli Museum, and I was walking around this park, and I was feeling like this park was so beautiful, and there was a lake, and it was, it's called Inokashira Koen. And it's up in Kichijoji, which is a beautiful suburb, kind of more northwest of Tokyo. Yeah, she's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I saw this house on this little, like, on the water. Like, they built this little inlet where you would walk out over a bridge into this little temple. So I walked over there, and I instantly just started crying. And I was thinking, oh, I don't cry. What? I'm on stage screaming all the time. I play hard techno music. Like, I ain't a crier. Like, give me some energy, But there was something that made me really just touch this kind of very sacred point of my heart and of my soul. And I realized this temple, I asked, it was a Benzaiten's temple. And of course, as soon as I say, oh, this is Benzaiten's temple, one of the more reverent, it's small, but there's something so beautiful. And she rides the dragon, right? Which is also the dragon of Japan. She just sings and fed me this beautiful poetry. And she is you might, if any, look into Benzaiten. Look, everyone finds their own deity, and when they start to look into Japanese Shintoism, into shamanism, into Buddhism, into everything, they start to figure out what images of these figures does my eyes and my soul gravitate to. So these were the two spirits that I gravitated to, and it also says she's the goddess of war, which again probably intertwines with my kind of strong fighter spirit, because I definitely have a stronger spirit. I'm not as wispy and whimsical as I hope. I'm a bit more like let's throw up on the floor and get the demiurge out, and let's face that. Like, really, the whole theme of suicide has been a very strong theme in my life, and I dealt with a suicidal father for a long time, and depression was a very strong theme in my family, and I had no idea just how much family really does influence you. And I think you guys know, and I think anyone listening here knows, our family during our formative years, a lot of the energies in the womb that we pick up too, being in our mother's womb, it does affect us. And then do we decide to be the victim, where we grow up and we say, oh, mom and it's the reason I'm this because my mom and dad, or do we take the second in the responsibility and we figure out our own Gnostic viewpoints and go, no, we're not going to do that. Now, music has been music is still, in order to cross over into the threshold, singing and using the voice in shamanic tones or in any way possible, in screaming and any fingers on the black, doing whatever we need to pass through, actually does help process these traumas of our past, of potentially our karma from the future. And even the chanting, that's why people chant. That's why people find songs in themselves. So for me, music has not only been something that, of course, I've been given as a gift, but also something that's helped me heal really dark stuff that I found out this year about where it's come from, maybe within me in my past lives and my actions in this life, but also stuff that has happened to my family generations ago. And it was interesting, Miguel, you did a talk with Judy earlier this year about decoding your emotional blueprint. Right. And I end up reading that book after this talk. Like, I hope someone may dive into these deities I'm talking about on Myoho Renge Kyo and furthering their knowledge and their gnosis. And going, wow, I had some family shit that they didn't face. Yeah. And then you have to be the one to pick it up and go, do I do the work? And what does the work entail? Where does the work take me? Obviously took you to Graceland recently. Moondog Vance to the moon in the galaxy as well. So it takes us these places. And there was a beautiful story about another Japanese beautiful deity called Amaterasu. I did a song on her as well. I'll send you that so you can drop it in the chat. Amaterasu Ryme Korsetsu. I did this with a beautiful, I'll send it on the Bandcamp to the chat. So, I'll put it in the chat straight on the YouTube. There we go.
Yeah, now, that's good.
Amaterasu was the sun goddess of Japan. So we all know that the sun is quite important on the flag. We have the red sun. And she's the most famous. Benzai Ten is not as famous as, Benzai Ten. I think you're famous, but Amaterasu was the kind of most famous Japanese. She's the spirit of Mount Fuji. You can see her. And now this comes into the suicide forest story. She went into this place where she had this kind of depression, which we all go through. The best of us do. We go through this dark night of the soul. And she filled up the land with sun. And then she was like, she just went a little weird. Don't quote me on this, but she went a little weird. She went into a cave and she was hiding, and she didn't want to face anything. She just kind of put her head down. And she forgot her beauty and her shine. And it was not until that one day, all the people of the village around Mount Fuji and Japan kind of were like, it got dark and scary, and they needed the sun back. So they started shaking all this trees, and they were causing all these festivals, and they were lighting all this fire and trying to, hey, wake up, come outside. And she kept going, no. So they thought of a trick, like, how can we get the sun back in Japan? So they put a mirror at the entrance of her cave. So finally, when she was like, what's all this ruckus outside? Shut up, I'm trying to be depressed here. Literally, she peeks outside and she opens the cave and she sees herself in the mirror, and she sees this shine and this beauty of hers, and she remembers she remembers her shine, and then she comes back and she fills the land with her light and her presence, and she returns by remembering her inner shine.
Right.
And then you have Mount Fuji, which is the symbol of Japan. As you look, you think, oh, the mystic mountain, you know, and Mount Fuji is considered a portal in Japan as the gateway to heaven. So a lot of people ended up, you know, kind of reverencing Mount Fuji as this gateway to heaven. It's still a live volcano. We had an earthquake here this morning, just a jolt, but I was like, wow, it's going to be a good day today. I'm talking to Miguel and Vance. But they are very they pray to Mount Fuji, don't erupt, or careful with the earthquakes, because the wrong jolt can also make it erupt, you know. So it's, oh, there's a kitty in your video, kawaii.
I've got like 4. Yeah.
Oh,
They're all asleep. Hopefully they'll stay asleep.
Oh, kawaii. I'm looking at my little asleep one, but I love cats. Japan's such a cat island. But yeah, so the gateway to heaven. Now, what surrounds heaven? What surrounds Mount Fuji? This is the crazy geographical point that always blows my mind, is we have the suicide forest. And this forest is you go to Fuji and you're sensitive to energy, you're going to feel it. You're going to look through as you drive past, and you're going to see little dark shadows just jumping through the forest. Oh, I had nightmares sometimes. If I sleep in Fuji, I can get either enlightenment dreams or nightmares. And I find that the metaphor of the gateway to heaven is surrounded by hell. It's like, in order to find our true peace, we must go through that dark night of the soul, or that hell, that wanting to kill oneself in some way, in order to then realize our shine. And so much of my music and my I'm about to release a debut album, and album, this is with Ryme So, and the album title is an acronym. It's IAFB, but the main meaning that we found of this IAFB acronym is I am fucking brilliant. And this, I got merch for you guys, seriously. But anyone to listening, it comes out on the 24th, and the main song is called I'm Fucking Brilliant. And this song is literally possibly related to this story about Amaterasu seeing the mirror and remembering her shine. And I went through some really dark night of the soul shit. And it was this year, I think, finally, that I had a mirror shown on me through the help of a psychedelic experience, as well as friends and family. But I was able to kind of go, oh, shit, I'm fucking brilliant. Sorry, we have a very dirty swearing episode. I love it. I'm Australian, forgive me. But I really love this story. So I think let's take a little break, and I want to show you, speaking of crossing over into this threshold, there is a video I sent to Miguel Connor recently called Torianse. So let's have a listen to that, and then.
All right. Yeah, and it's interesting about your dreams and stuff. My daughter, Ellie, she's 8, and she's always can predict things. And recently, she's been having nightmares where this monster, or this giant long guy in front of her bed is stalking her all the time. So, I started incense, prayers works really well.
She's obviously she also has to tell it to go away as well, because but in some ways it's like it could be angels in disguise too, you know. I think angels also, you know, Lucifer is a dark angel, which you guys know. So it's so this is a dark song.
Wonderful,
Mm.
beautiful.
This
Tell us
song,
about this tune.
this song is called Torianse, and it is actually a children's song of all things, and it's an old song. It's not ancient. It's rather new. Now, Torianse in Japanese means gate. So you know those beautiful big kind of gates you have, the big wooden. It's this gate, and this gate is a super symbolic part of Japan for the crossing over. Every temple has a torianse, a gate, a tori, and this is in order to go through the gate to the other side. And anyone that's also done anything ever really knows the importance of that crossing of the threshold. So the number 7 comes up again, and
Oh,
I love
wow.
it, right? So in Japan, in old Japan, when it was a poor time, if a child reached the age of 3, amazing, we'd celebrate. If the child reached the age of 5, oh my God, even better. And then 7 was the time of the end of the very pureness and the end of the childhood, and also the beginning of the sacred ancient knowledge. It's why your daughter at 8 years old, she just finished her 7th year, is starting to probably go through this. Now, we call Shichigo-san, which is or am I saying the opposite way? It means 3, 5, and 7. This is an actual children's holiday in Japan we have, where we celebrate children of these ages, because these are very big points of the life of the child. So when the child reaches 7, the child needs to be crossed over. It's the crossing over time in Japan. So this song is about a tori, a gate, and a mother and her 7-year-old daughter, and at the gate, a very old gatekeeper. We don't know if he's man or woman or she, it. And basically we have Torianse, koko wa doko no hosomichi ja. This is, you may go in, you may enter. Which way is the narrow pathway? We continue. This is the narrow pathway of the Tenjin Shrine. Please allow me to go through. This is the mother speaking. So I almost play 2 characters where I pull myself a little more into a bit like kind of energy versus like energy. I like to play these 2 roles. So the mother comes in, and then the gatekeeper says, "Those without good reason shall not pass." So the mother says, "Oh, the celebrate the 7th birthday of my child. We need to make our offering to the ofuda, to the god here, the mystic, to pass through, so she can or he can and go through." Now, this is the favorite phrase I love. Oh my God, she says. This gatekeeper says, she says, going in is easy, but returning is scary. It's scary, but you may go in, you may pass through. Now, the metaphor of this is, once we leave our childhood, once we leave our innocence, there's no turning back. There is, once we've seen it, once we've heard it, there is no going back. And it is scary going through life and going through this transitional phase, crossing over into alternate dimensions through psychedelics perhaps as well. It's a scary thing. It's to face the subconsciousness. So this song is in some way a haunting song, because it reminds the child that, and all the kids sing it. It's in school here. It's everyone knows Torianse. No one knows who exactly wrote it. There are rumors about who wrote it, but it's a very mysterious song, and it reminds children and adults, for that matter, of losing one's innocence, but also accepting it and being okay with passing through this gate. And I just love this song. That I also was researching recently into it as I was recording it. There was also such a poor time where children they couldn't actually even be fed. They were so sick and poor that sometimes the families would drop the children off in the forest and let them
Oh my God.
go play, and they would never come to get them again, because they were that poor and it was that desperate. And this is also another reason why the suicide forest in Mount Fuji might exist, because there was also a rumor that old people, they would just drop them and they would be like, we're just gonna, and these poor children and old people who they couldn't afford to feed and take care of, their souls got lost in the forest. And that's why there's so much sci-fi and mysticism, and look at all the horror movies in Japan of these scary souls and haunting. I'm getting chills right now, because Japan horror, you cannot beat it. It is the most horrific, horrifying country in the world.
Really?
No, of course. I go to horror houses here and I come out like petrified. I go to ones in France or America and it's like, the fuck is that? You know, like you trust me. If you come to Japan, anyone listening, you must literally go and experience. There's a haunted house in Mount Fuji. It was an old hospital. They turned it into an attraction. And it's terrifying. They dress up as zombies and chase you around, of course, but there's an energy. You feel Japanese horror is weird. There's a lot of pterodactyl kind of weird shaped stuff, but it also goes into shamanism. It also goes into this weird state where things get weird looking. And yeah, this song and Japan, for that matter, it holds a lot of ancient knowledge and power of a more darker and scarier side. And it's funny, there's another thing called Hatsuyume, and Hatsuyume, I did a whole music project on it. I'll drop that into the chat as well. Hatsuyume means first dream of the year. So the first dream of the year that I had many dreams. It always happens on, just dropping it in the YouTube chat. So when you have time, check this out. It's a 17-minute video, and it's a discourse on the first dream of the year. So they usually prophesize in Japan what you dream of on Oshogatsu, which is January 1st, after the first sun has set, is going to come true. So I had some crazy dreams and I started to recognize it, and I was thinking, what the fuck? Why am I dreaming this and it's coming true? So always pay attention to your first dream of the year, your Hatsuyume. And now maybe you might even think, oh, did you remember one of your dreams one New Year? And did that come true? Or did that touch any parts of your psyche? So I had a dream this year, and a weird one. I had a weird New Year's. I had a big show, and then I had a big drama, and it was just not my ideal New Year's, but I had a lot of responsibility, and the show was great. I wore these fire pajamas on stage, and I was screaming and welcoming in the new year, and I wanted fire. Wow, even now talking to you guys, it makes sense, because fire is the shaman's weapon. And I was wearing these insane fire pajamas, and I usually wear purple, but I was wearing orange and green, orange and yellow and red. And I said on stage, it's like, I'm wearing these pajamas because this New Year's, we're going to go in with a fiery, exciting year. And of course, my dream, it was not even a dream. I had this very strange calling. It was a calling I'd never heard before. It was a calling of an alternate dimension. And I was in Osaka. I was in the shithole, and I was just beside myself on New Year's night. I was really going, what is this? I was couldn't work it out. And then I heard this strange voice talk to me about ayahuasca, and this psychedelic voice. And now I'd never done psychedelics. I don't need to. My father did enough acid for me to go, okay, I'm fine. I get it. I also was quite careful because of my creative mind. I also was like, I don't need to do it. I didn't think about it. I see enough already. I do enough. And I'm sure a lot of people have different relationships with psychedelics. But I never thought of myself as someone to, go and do that. No. Just, I was already whatever. And so it got stronger and stronger. And I was thinking, like, God damn, I need to follow this voice and delve into a psychedelic journey, a plant medicine journey. And it was ayahuasca that called me. I checked with my healers, I checked with my teachers, I checked with my friends, I checked with my partner, you know. Also, you cannot do plant medicine in Japan. So I had to think, okay, where am I going to go? Where can I be respectful? I mean, I'm also releasing an album. I have work to do, as if I have time to go and sit and do, you know, these things. But it got so strong. And I was like, well, my Hatsume was this dream and this message. If I deny my guides or my message, it's going to be all over. So I actually ended up excited to tell you guys that I finally did ayahuasca this year. I did it a month ago. Is it? Oh no, in September. And leading up to that, I dabbled in some DMT, of course, mushrooms and LSD, just carefully, just to understand what kind of things, you know, and it was mind-blowing, really. I think everyone will, when they explain their experience, because some people are also very cautious what they say, because they don't want it to be, you don't want to ruin it for someone, you know, because everyone's going to have a different experience. And some people don't want to know about your psychedelic experiences too, because of their mindset. I was almost one of them at some point. I was like, okay, cool. Because like I just grew up with like that, you know, world of everyone talking about it all the time. And I was like, nah, I don't care, bro. But so for me sharing this, I find, and I'm really grateful that we talked about it a little bit on the chat. You know, I think after everything I've taken away from my experiences, there's no denying that there is this mystic energy. And I was given quite a rough trip. I had 3 nights of ayahuasca, but both
in Japan, or did you have to leave the country?
No, I had to leave. I actually ended up in America, in North America. So I didn't go to Peru. I had to multitask. I had to come back. I was in New York City, not in New York City doing it, but I had a lot of things earlier this year in anticipation for this release. Right. So I kind of double tapped into it, but I'm telling you, I actually figured out the reason on my first night of why I even stayed in Japan through my ayahuasca. It's a very complicated story. So if you don't mind, I'm happy to jump in and tell you. But
sure, let's hear it.
So I realized during my trip, I was going through my family and I was riding this giant snake's back, and I'm in the husk of it all thinking, my family, my brother, and then my sister came up, and I was thinking, my sister, my sister. I don't have a sister, and I've always struggled with feminine energy. I was like, what the hell? And I started panicking almost, like, where is my sister? And I'm like holding my uterus, going, this is a weird moment, and I felt tobacco being blown over me. It was powerful shit, and I all of a sudden I see this kind of golden spider web of like all these lines kind of intersecting, where this idea and my neurons are all going through. They're all figuring it out, trying to work it out. It's panic mode. And then I see my current partner's eldest sister. She's in her late 60s, and she just came up, and it was like, boom, she's your sister. And I was like, what? And she actually lives in Israel. She's in Jerusalem. She left Japan quite young. She was like, no, I don't like Japan. Japan is weird for me. I don't want to be here. And she left in the 70s, I guess, 80s. And I came to Japan almost trying to look for her. My subconscious was trying to look for her. And actually, I found out that my soul family is Japanese. I have a lot of soul family that's Japanese, and I found out that my mother I would have been born into, she had a miscarriage, and I was the miscarried child. And this is my interpretation from this super strong epiphany I had, and it explains a lot as to why I needed to come to Japan, why I met my current partner and his family, and then also why I had to go to Israel this year, because I was in Israel earlier this year. And the Kabbalah and Judaism strongly pulls me in. That's why my Gnosticism is very high in that sense. And I do like to sing or listen to Hebrew songs and Japanese songs. And I always pull little tidbits out of it and I place it into the music I create. Even this latest song, Magic, it's that I released, I sent you guys. That was very strongly influenced by the magic of the Cabal and the whole, like, and ayahuasca showed me that. Ayahuasca showed me some very ancient magic. And I have another book next to me now called Magic, which is Aleister Crowley.
Oh, of course, classic.
Yeah, right. So for me, the idea of magic is so strong, and it's so funny. I make these songs, and then of course this book is on the shelf. The designer of the artwork was like, "Hey, you need this." And I also have another book next to me called The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell.
Of course,
great one. And these 3 books are my my current revisions. But I find that this year has been just such an amazing year of finally understanding why I came to Japan, the stories of the deities, the stories of our ancestors, the trauma and the processing of our family. And I'm very excited to share. Obviously, there's some music I've sent on the link, but also the album that will be coming out that is remembering your shine, your true fucking brilliance that will be coming out. And I feel like everything I've been speaking about is kind of tied up that journey, and I want to be a part of in the music industry that growing and that change and that realization of one's shine, which I think music sometimes takes us where we listen to dark music sometimes because we're in dark places or we need to process it through, right. And then you come into a more light music time, and listening to the Icaros in the ayahuasca journey was so profound for me because I was connecting with language. I'm a poet, I'm a lyricist, I'm a singer. I was connecting with language in a whole new way, but language of the plants and language of the old magic in the air that now I come back to Japan and it's so strong. I just can't stop singing in some way. So yeah, questions, cats. Bernie Num Num, let's go.
Bernie Num Num. Nipples for men, yes. Yeah, see there, the kitten's attacking the old guy. One cat's 15 years old, the other cat's like 2 months old. So see, the generations can get along.
They do. I'm telling you, we have a lot to learn in one another. And I feel like as a I'm coming into, it's funny, I'm 28. And I'm going into my dark night of the soul, but I feel like I'm coming out of it, and I really value, that's why I love listening to, I have really young friends, just 18, who I also help guide, and also they teach me. And then also I have a lot of older friends, and I listen to their wisdom and I teach them sometimes too. It's like a whole balancing line of life, and that's why it's important to have guests and talk to people of all sorts of ages, and talk to our parents and talk to our parents' friends and our partners' family. Like, just the best thing you can do is dialogue, really. Ikeda-san from the Nichiren Buddhism also says dialogue is the most important thing. So these podcasts are such rich ways of teaching one another stories and storytelling, and reminding one another of the shine inside of us, and the darkness too, and and that's okay, like your daughter must be going through.
Yeah, exactly. Have you is there a word in Japanese for gnosis that you can think of? All I know is Satori, but I don't know Satori.
No, Gnosticism is not like a Gnosticism or Gnosticism. That's how they.
But like a word for a direct experience with the spirit world or something.
Well, realization is kizuita, like realization. I'm trying to think of the best word, like
a special realization that stands out from the ordinary, let's say. What about that? It may not be a common word, you might not hear it a lot.
Yeah, no, because there are profound words. I have a very dear friend who's doing Japanese calligraphy, and she knows a lot of kanji, of deep words. I wanna find the correct word, and we'll put it on the show notes. But I can definitely say that Hokkekyo is the top of Buddhism, which I described before, and that's a very strong word for not only the Buddhism aspect, but also the top of the knowledge in the world. So Hokkekyo, and perhaps, I mean, epiphany. Hiyu hyogen wa this hiyu hyogen is metaphor. And I find that for me, the metaphor is very powerful kind of realization in some way. So sekinin, I've been saying throughout the thing, is another powerful word, responsibility. But in terms of like a god, I have to come back to you on that.
No
There's
problem.
too many words. Yeah, there's a tough one, but Hiyu Hyogen's a nice one. It's a good one for the metaphor, because everything's a metaphor, is it not? Everything we do and touch, pretty big
And the
one.
copy and the best we can.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought of Japanese as
Hold on,
aliens.
Vance, I gotta let the cats out. I'll be back.
Oh,
One
sure.
second.
Yeah. Now I get to try to keep the chat clean and talk to you
Yeah,
at the
the
same
new
time.
host of the show, the Moon Talk Vance.
Yeah,
With
been target
Justice.
practicing all night here. I miss a lot of what you said too. You know, it's a shame because you can only have one language thread going through your mind at a time. You know, at least I can. But and now I just spilled out the thing I was going to ask you.
Yes, you were asking me about
Aliens. Yes,
aliens.
Japanese as aliens.
Yeah.
They
Oh yeah.
love UFOs, right? They're into UFOs.
Yeah. Hello. I did a whole release on a project of a girl. Now there's an amazing story actually about a girl that came to Japan as an alien, and her name is Utsuro Bune. Utsuro Bune was you'd love this story. So one day actually near my beach house on the eastern part of Japan, this strange boat in a glass-shaped ship just falls onto the sand, and there's this foreign-looking girl inside, and all the Japanese kind of crowd around her, and they're like, what the fuck is this? And this girl walks out, and she's very beautiful, and they're thinking,
wow,
she must have been European or an alien. And they're all standing around, and she has light hair, so they're all like, this is weird, we don't know if we like this. She stays for a few days, and they're kind of watching her, but then ultimately the chief of the city at the time was like, nope, she's going back in this glass ship, and they send her back because they were like, they didn't like it. Yeah, and her name Utsuro Bune, I'm going to drop the playlist of that music because I actually reference her a lot. I almost kind of channeled her, and I spoke about her. I'm dropping it in the YouTube chat. Yeah.
Did you get to share anything, or
yes? So I think that the overall message from that first ancient alien encounter in Japan was documented. I think she talked. I wasn't there. It's hard for me to say. I just know that they documented her as being different, and she had a box, and inside this, she kept holding this box, and inside this box there was, I think, some treasure or some sort of Pandora's box. That's why they were very weary of her, because they were very careful about what she had in this box. They didn't know if they wanted to open it or not. So there was a lot of mysticism about that. But, Japan is the highest place. I started doing CE5 here, Dr. Stephen Greer. I'm a huge fan. And I started practicing CE5 out here. And I did see ships and stuff in Japan. Actually, it's one of the biggest hotspots in the world for alien encounters. And yeah.
Really?
Have you guys not checked the US what's it called? They put the Pentagon. They did the
last people I want to believe.
Yeah, no. Wow, I just got booby trapped myself there. But they, according to their data, they do say Japan has the highest sightings.
Wow.
Interesting.
I've heard your moons. I've heard your moon dog. No, I've heard your alien stories throughout the years that you've shared on this Aeon Byte. So the idea of aliens in Japan, yeah, that's a whole thing. I know so many amazing stories here that people have told me, and it's just incredible. And you also do get sometimes with the way they interact. It's very alien to me. Like it's literally alien. It's different, like how they move and how
Yeah.
they, speak and the small gestures of their body. So it's you're right when you say that Japan has an alien energy. I mean, it is also an island shaped as a dragon. I mean, can you get any weirder? Can you guys just book a ticket here now and come and experience the amazing, crazy, dark light all of above?
Yeah, and yet then they have the Ainu up north, the Aboriginal
Yes.
Ainu, who
Yes.
aren't, they're Caucasian apparently. They're white people.
Well, they come from Russia and the Siberian snow. So you have, and the Mongols. So the Mongols also did come over. So they have a mixed, interesting mixed kind of blood up there. And Hokkaido, you've got when I've been up there a few times, they're different compared to the mainland, which we call Honshu, the main island. Okinawa people and Hokkaido people, energy completely different.
Yeah.
Almost like Hokkaido people are a lot more direct. They're being at the coldest place, they're a lot more warmer. They're a lot more sexual up there, a little kinky. The hentai scene kind of lives up in, yeah, in what's it called? Hokkaido, the main city. Mind blank. Hokkaido, and there is the main city of hot springs, blah blah blah. What is the main city? Sapporo. So Sapporo is the main city where
all the beer,
Exactly. So it's famous for Sapporo beer, Sapporo ramen, and the Sapporo Snow Festival. But this town is also, don't be fooled, that's the kinkiest town in Japan. So get your hentai on over there. Very, very kinky. Not a joke.
Hentai went on.
Yeah, there's a lot of sex up there. So that's a kind of interesting fact. Whereas down here, I mean, you always see a little bit of hentai, but apparently up there is the most, which hottest destination right now. Get beer and get hentai. But
that movie House must have been made up there. Do you ever see that? House? It's a Japanese horror movie.
Okay. I see 1985. Yeah, potentially. I wonder where it was filmed. Where was it filmed? Let's have a look. In California.
Really?
I mean,
California.
Looks like it was in Japan. I mean, it's they got the ancient Japanese house and the whole thing. It was subtitled. It was all Japanese.
Yeah,
Strange.
I'm serious. Maybe they might have done something. Oh no. House was filmed in one of Toho's lot. Wait, are we talking the 1977 or the 1985 house? 77, right?
I don't know which year it was. Probably 77. Looked that old.
Yeah, no, actually, and it's about teenage girls that go on a summer trip.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Okay, yeah. So we're actually, that is Japan, and that is.
Where?
I wonder where. Yeah, so that was filmed on. Actually, it says Toho's largest set. So Toho Cinema is they have these big. It's actually more in Yokohama, but they might have a set up there. I'm not sure, but I've been on the sets. They're amazing. Oh my god. Because I did Diner. I remember I sat in a movie cinema to watch a preview with just the director. I'll send you this. It's more of a modern. It's called Diner, and it's a modern Japanese movie. And you can hear my voice throughout some of the songs, and I did a lot of the sound design and dialogue with my partner.
Cool.
And I guess we'll do Wikipedia in English, but I'm just posting now on the private chat and also the public chat. But if you do have a chance and you want to experience a modern Japanese film about a lot of killing, but a lot of metaphors, a lot of hyōgens. Diner is an interesting one. It came out in 2019, and that was how I got to go on the Toho set here, because I was part of the music, and I sat in this cinema, and it was a whole private cinema. It was so cool, and you see a big Godzilla at the entrance of Toho sets. It's just fantastic. They really love their set design, and yeah, Godzilla. Wow, that's an animal, huh?
Yeah. Hey, Miguel, are you capturing the stuff off the private chat here? Because I don't know if that exists after the stream closes down.
I'm putting everything between both of them as well. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, or it should exist. If not, yeah, I mean, it's hard because you don't really have a hub. You have your website, but then you're big in Instagram. You got YouTube. You're all over the place, man.
Man, I am, and I'm reading the chat.
Yeah, man.
I'm reading the chat, and I'm Hirajoshi scale. Carl mentioned is used a lot in Japanese music. Yeah, Hirajoshi scale is beautiful. All the scales I've been learning, I've been very lucky to. Yeah, exactly. I actually prefer the classic D scale. When I play Japanese koto, I don't have it here. I'm going to bring it back soon. I would love to play for you live, but it's like a harp, but instead of the harp, it's a Japanese harp. It's a long piece of wood, as I was playing before. But you can actually use this instrument to change the scale notes and to create almost a kind of Western scale, and then with the Japanese instrument, you can do so many things here. So Carl made a good point of using Japanese scales in Western music and vice versa. It is actually interesting. There's one more song I do want to show you guys, and I'm going to find it. It's a song it's a very underground song, and it has a Japanese flavor to it. But it's got a Western scale at some point. Japanese song about kids being used in slavery. Hold on. Slavery. Here we go. Okay. So this is the song about. There's a song that I just love, and I want to play it. It has to be the Altalude song, Miguel. It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be because it's an incredible song, and I think that it's so underrated. No one in the West knows about it. There's no way to find it on YouTube. I have to figure it out. So let's get this guy up. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So I'm dropping it into the private stream so we can have that as the outro. But in terms of music and Japan and storytelling and film and Gnosticism and mysticism, there is really no other. I mean, every Asian country, I would even say we need another episode for Mongolia, but still, Japan has such a strong magnet we call jishaku that literally pulls you and takes you on its whirlwind of a journey. And I've been so lucky, and anyone who also, I can see in the chat, many people who also really connect with Japanese culture and want to share their stories, and people who maybe are yet to come to Japan. It's definitely somewhere where if you are Gnostic and you are into the mystic, you must come and experience it. Maybe we should have a Aeon Byte conference in Japan one time. That would be awesome.
I'm getting sure. Yeah. I don't know how many people listen. I'll have to look at the statistics. I mean, a lot of people listen from Australia because it's English, but I haven't seen much in Japan.
Japan has its own subculture. Actually, the reason why the music industry is quite only domestically doing well is because they don't really want to branch out at some point. So this album that I'm dropping on the 24th is a kind of big part of that new wave of Japan coming now out into the Western music market. So I will definitely send you all that details, and please listen. And only listen if you're fucking brilliant, though. That's the deal. So you'll have to decide that for yourself.
I'm excited about your album. I think it's great. Can't wait to listen to it. So gonna be good. Well, awesome. Yeah, this has been an amazing chat. I have learned so much and enlightened as always by your Gnosis and all the stuff you do. And yeah, we should do another on Mongolia and other stuff. But Vince, do you have any last questions before we wrap it up?
I have time, so.
Okay. I think you're on mute. You have muted yourself. He's doing the Japanese silence.
Yeah.
Let it hang
Yeah,
in
there
the
you go.
air.
Silence. Yeah, we had my dog that doesn't know about Japanese silence, so he was and our dinner
He's
just
jealous of the
arrived.
cats. Yeah,
You
he's
can hear
pissed
him back
off
there.
about the cat.
So yeah, I missed a lot of what Ryme was saying earlier because I got sucked into the Chitiko. But no questions this point. Except yeah, the Japanese ever hold slaves? Was that ever a thing in Japan?
They were slaves?
No, did they have slaves?
Oh, possibly Koreans at some point.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a big thing between them. So listen, the song I sent, because as we slowly wrap up, but the song I sent actually is about a story about China, mostly China, because of child slavery being quite big there, as we all know. Chester said something really nice. Thank you, Ryan, Miguel, and Vance. And Vance cleaning out the riffraff. Love that. There's a lot of riffraff these days. But speaking of riffraff and child slavery, there's this amazing song we'll be playing soon that is actually sung by I think a 10-year-old boy. You would not believe the voice on this child, and he's singing a song about being excited to go. His parents are taking him on a boat trip, and probably Japan, there were a lot of this happening too in the early days, where the parents would say, "Oh, we're going to go on a boat trip, and we're going to go through the gate, the tori," and then when the child would get there, he's got all this excitement in his eyes, thinking he's going to be going to a fun trip, but he ends up being sold to the new owner. Yeah, and the owner take him away, but there's a beautiful melancholy because he's sitting there on the boat and he's thinking, "Oh, I'm on my way to somewhere fun and with this new person," but it's got this such sad overtone of he doesn't know yet. He doesn't know the pain of life yet. He doesn't know the pain of growing up, the pain of slavery, the pain of the demiurge, the pain of the matrix system.
Right.
Thank you, Modwiz125. Really, I think that this song and this story of being a child and passing through with this naivety, it's such a touching, profound theme that we all go through. The best of us go through it. So yeah, this song is it's a crier, but it's this is my next song of the next album I want to cover. So this will be a little clue to what I will be singing next. Very underrated song, super secret. No one even in Japan knows this song. It's like underground Japanese music about kids being sold into slavery, but if that answers your question, this song will.
Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah,
Everyone's like, "Can we listen to the song now? Why don't we listen to the song?"
Oh boy, yeah, intense, but yeah, you got to keep it real because reality is so unreal.
It is.
So happy you're spreading this stuff, this energy, this healing energy. So awesome. So as we get at the end, where would you like people to go check your album? Where will they find it? Where, the usual places, or where do you want to send peoples?
I want to send peoples to my real life show, and you can come in and you can stand, sit, do a handstand, whatever you want to do, and just be right there with me. I may jump on you, but that's okay. I'm just sending the website through. So my Japanese project, where I do half Japanese, half English, is Ryme So. Ryme is my name, and that's also my solo project name. But SO comes from my partner, who is Shinichi Osawa, another fantastic figure in the Japanese music industry. Now, Ryme So sounds like I'm so. So I play with the whole ego issue of the world, of everyone going, "Oh my God, like, I'm so, like, like, I'm so, I don't know, I'm still like hungry, I think," but I'm like, I don't know, like this whole energy of
good accent,
self-chatter. So Ryme So sounds like I'm so, and all the content in this music project is talking about social commentary, where your ego fits in the world, where yourself fits in. It's a good one. It's a good lyrical baseline. So, for example, I'm so fucking brilliant. And that's I have an event coming up on the 17th of November, which is in 1 week. And we're actually holding a listening party in the theme of Matsuri. So Matsuri is a festival every year. Well, it means festival. So with many Matsuris always around. And it's where you dance and you play the instruments and you do a little dance. It's fun theme. So I have put up tickets on the website. If you do randomly, spontaneously just want to fly to Japan, come to this event in 1 week, but reserve a ticket. Who knows? Someone may in the chat be like, that's it, I'm convinced, I'm going. But it will be very fun. Yeah, it'll be very fun. And then the album will release on the 24th. And so the website, you can see all my singles that have been leading up to it, including the song Magic, which is spelled with a K, that Mr. Alistair Crowley and a Vietnamese rapper joined in on. So that was and that's also in the image. We have like a kind of half man, half woman symbolistic thing. Now that song is crazy. That you'll love that. But yeah, all sonic goodness. My website is rhymerecords.com. I have a rabbit hole of treats and poetry in there. And then just type in YouTube Rhyme So or Ryme. But you may get a lot of nursery kids rhymes. Enjoy that too. Just be careful which ones were made by Disney versus which ones were made by the authentics.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome. I'll have something on the show notes. I already got a few links on the show notes, but I'll have it in the show notes when I put it, the audio version out tomorrow or Saturday. I'll have those on the show notes too. So check it out. If you guys need more information, just email me or message Vance.
Yeah, and there's
send you to
Spotify,
Ryme.
there's Apple, there's all that stuff. If you want to just type in Rhyme So, go for it. It's I'll come up and enjoy the music.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Really enjoyed it. Vance, thanks for keeping us company and wrestling with that Chatico.
Yeah, never seen it like that. And it was great. Ryme, love your energy. At least I was getting that. I was basking in your energy as I was doing battle with the chat. So
Purple energy, send me to you.
the royal.
Yes, it is. In Japan, they consider purple as the royal color. And I swear you do not want to walk into my wardrobe because you might be blinded by purple. I love it so much. I really do.
Wonderful. Ryme, as always, thank you very much for coming on the show. Look forward to your album, more of your magic, more of your Gnosis, and I will tell my daughter to have a little chat with that ghost thing that keeps coming into her dreams. But she says it's better since I did the incense and the spells. And she talked about there was another woman who came and was helping her during her dreams. I said, "Oh, is it Sophia?" And she's like, "I don't know, Daddy." So, but she is, she's a full-blown mystic witch at 8 years old.
She's gonna.
Some have the vision like you.
Yeah, she's gonna go through it and she's gonna find out who her angels are and who her deities are, and it's gonna be so exciting for her. And she needs that space. She needs to go into that cave and be left alone and figure it out. I think the best thing you can do for anyone is not explaining too much sometimes, even, and letting people figure it out for themselves. I think when we deal with difficult people, it's the only way for them to come to
listen to what they say. They have their own language. They know they're closer to the source than we are.
Exactly.
All right. Well, awesome, Ryme. Well, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. You rock.
I'm so happy that we got to chat, and I hope you enjoy this beautiful song as the outro.
I will. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your week. Cool shows coming next week on Moloch, American Gnosis Part 2, and other stuff. So stay tuned. And as always, keep writing your own gospel, living your own myth. Take care, everybody.